Hello, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to do a little bit more work on the Celica. Right, so today I want to see if I can actually sort some of this actual surface rust here. It's not too bad. I did put some rust killer on it and it seems to have gone black here, but now I'm actually taking the actual seam sealer away. As you can see, it's quite rusty underneath. Hope you can hear me over the scraping of the screwdriver. So I'm going to take all this sealer out as best I can, and then I'm going to hit it with a wire brush, just the old spinny one on the old drill, clean it up as best I can as well. Then I'm going to whack a load of rust killer on, leave it for a good 24 hours. Just even get into that seam there. I don't want to push it too much and go all the way through, which it looks like it might do. Show you a closer look how bad that is. It might be okay. So actually water's actually got in behind the actual seam sealer and actually soaked in and caused that little bit of rust there. I've seen worse. Nissan was worse. And the old sealer on the old Nissan as well wasn't actually water resistant. Okay, so I'll continue with this, clean up as best I can. I've also got this area here to do, and a small area just there, which is again similar on that seam. So I'm going to clean up and treat it as best I can, and then I'll have a look at the floor of the actual boot. Right, I hope you can see this because the light is actually fading fast now. I hate winter. And as you can see there, the actual seam there has come away and there's a little rust hole there. So really, this needs cutting out and a new plate putting in, and then spot weld into the inner wheel tub on the other side, really. But it ain't going to get it today. So I think I'm going to hit this a little bit more aggressive with probably a grinding disc on, just on the drill, little roll-lock disc, just to clean this up a little bit more, and then I'm going to whack a load of rust killer on it. Hopefully that'll stabilise it for now, and then I'm going to epoxy prime it, and hopefully that should keep it back for now until I can strip the entire shell down. I think it's going to have to be something like that in a couple of years or something. Strip it all down like I did with the Nissan, right down to the bare bones. Remove all this rust and build it back up again. But for a temporary fix, this might just do it, I think. So I'm going to get the little roll lock out, clean all this up, and then I'm going to whack some cure rust on it. Okay, so the cure rust is on. It's just basically this rust converter by Zep. It's not bad. It's a bit of a middle of the road sort of non-budget rust converter. Light's going pretty quick now, so I didn't put the light on actually. That's better. Modern technology. Right, there you go with the light on. You can see that much better now. I've converted that, so I'm going to leave that now for a good 24 hours. I'm going to epoxy prime all round under here. Try and get it underneath this seam as well. I may even peel this seam back a little bit more. See if I can make it a little bit cleaner underneath. But like I said before, it really needs all that cutting out and redoing. But it's pretty stable here. This bit here is pretty solid. It's just this actual boot floor again where the water's actually sat on there, and probably come up from underneath as well. So when the weather gets a bit warmer, I might even get the back wheel off and get underneath and investigate what it's like underneath. So I'm going to leave you for today, and we'll catch up again in the morning. So just giving it one coat of epoxy primer. It's been about 24 hours, so the rust converter's done its job and converted, hopefully. So I'm going to give it another coat, really, just to seal that in. I'm going to leave that to dry, probably for a couple of hours or so. And then I'm going to panel that back in there, just gently. And I'm going to give it a really nice seam seal. And then I'll probably give it another coat of primer, and then some silver paint over the top, and then I'm going to probably do the same to all these other parts as well. Good news is I've washed the car, so it's nice and clean now. And the water leak seems to have stopped. But there is a very, very slight one on this side. So I think I'm going to have to do the same on this side. I should have done it really when the back bumper was off, but this side wasn't leaking. I didn't want to disturb it. But now it started to leak, which is sod's law. So probably in spring I'm going to whip all this back off again and reseal this side as well. But I want to, like I said before, I want to paint the actual shut as well and actually clear coat it, not just base coat it like it is from factory. Right, so that's 2 coats, so we'll let that dry and then we'll seam seal it. Right, so the epoxy primer is dried nicely now. Really, I think in spring I'm going to cut this piece out, probably from around, sorry if I'm not on camera, probably from around here, like that, and then weld a new piece of steel in, I think. I'm not happy with the amount of rust in there as well, so especially here as well. I think all these pieces are going to have to be cut out, so this is just going to be a temporary bodge, really, to stop the actual water coming up from underneath the hole here. Anyway, I digress. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give it a bit of a seal just to temporarily keep it all things. So clean all the sealer off again, because I'm probably have to do that anyway. And then I'm definitely going to have a look underneath and see what the actual problem is and where the actual water is getting in from, because I think this seal, or this seam, sorry, here underneath is probably burst apart and the water's getting up from underneath. I think that's what the main problem is, rather than coming from this side. So the actual seam has actually burst and the water's getting in and lifted all the seam sealer up, and it's actually rusted from underneath the seam sealer. So anyway, what I'm going to do is basically wait for the old meshy smith to go. I'm going to lay a nice beader sealer down here. It's just the same one again, the PU sealer. It's over paintable, so I'm going to put some more paint over the top of it. I'm just going to do a nice seam, and then I'm going to use my little brush here just to brush it in to make it look nice and neat. I do this off camera as well. I should really set it up on tripod, but a bit restricted for space in the back of the car, and I can't really do it with one hand, so I'll just show you after I've done it. So I just laid the sealer in. I'm just going over with this stiff brush just to try and match in with the actual original seam sealer, which is all brushed in from factory, just to try and make it look a little bit factory. Oh, off camera again, sorry. Just like that, basically. So what I'm going to do now is let this dry overnight, and then I'm going to come back in the morning, put a slight coat of primer on again, and then just going to blow some silver in here. But I think I'm going to do this side here first, clean all that up, and rust treat it again. I may see if I can get a better rust killer as well, something a bit higher end. It's not bad, that one I've got, but it's just not as aggressive as I'd like, really. I'd like something to really bite into it and convert it. And I may even get some Pore 15 when I do the full resto underneath as well, because I want to get rid of as much rust as I can underneath, and Gravtex it underneath and maybe colour code it to make it look like factory again. So it's all going to be a long old job, but it's going to be worth it in the end. Keep the old beast going on the road. But this side here, I just had a bit of a scrape around, and this side's not as bad as you can see there. It's not as bad there. It's actual down to actual proper steel there, so this should clean up a lot better. It's what this side's here like, and I think, like I said before, it's coming from underneath. It's seam underneath which is burst, and actual water's ingressing in, and it's rotting from the inside, from the outside in. But yeah, it's not bad really when you think about it. All this can be treated with Pore 15. I'm going to have to invest in some Pore 15. It's brilliant stuff. It's the only thing I've actually found that encapsulates the rust permanently. It's horrible stuff to work with because you get it on your skin and it just does not come off. It just has to wear off. But I did all underneath the Nissan in it, and that is still pretty solid now. And a lot of the areas were quite bad. Some of them were like this, you know, surface rust. All surface rust, that's all. Really, it's not all the way through really solid. So I think I'm going to invest in some of that, and I think that will keep this at bay then, and then you have to do like a primer over the top, and then you can paint it as normal. So I'll get some of that and sort that out. I think that's going to be the only thing that's going to be strong enough for this sort of thing here. Anyway, so I'm going to leave that now, that seam sealer, to dry overnight. It takes about 8 hours or so, and then come back and we'll whack a bit of paint on it. The side bit there cleaned up really nice. I'm just going to put some sealer in there in a minute, and then this side is pretty much done. Most of the actual rust, surface rust, came off really easily. It's just down in this gap here. Sorry, I'm off camera again. It's down in this gap here. I put loads and loads of rust converter in last night. Now it's the next day, and then I've etch primed it. So hopefully that should hold it back. When I come to actually restore it inside the actual boot and remove that piece of steel and put a new piece in, I may have to try and peel this section back and see how bad it is behind it. But I think it's only going to be surface. Basically, I haven't put any sealer in there at all from factory, and the water's sat in there and damp and cause it to blister and rust a little bit. The other side here wasn't too bad, just a little seam there. Don't know why they didn't continue the seam all the way around and do like a drop-in floor, but I suppose that's how it comes from factory. So I've just got to seal that up as well, and I've rust converted the actual boat floor. Took the actual plugs out, same shoes through there. So I'm going to let that dry and spray some epoxy on it. I've got some Pour 15 coming as well, should be here next week, and then I'll probably see how this goes with the rust. If it comes back through, then I will actually strip it all off again and Pour 15 it, but I'm going to need the Pour 15 for other areas on the car. It's going to be quite a good little investment to get, even though it's expensive. It's £22 for, I think it's something like 50ml, tiny little tin. So it's not the cheapest product in the world, but it's probably one of the best. So I'll let this dry, then I'll epoxy prime it, and I'm going to seal those areas up, and I'll get back to you and we'll put a little bit of silver on. So I've sealed all that area up, and I'm just going over now, just a little bit of the wheel silver again from U-Pol, just a basic silver, and I'm just trying to blend into that. Yeah, I shouldn't mask everything up, but it doesn't really matter for this little tiny job. Just going to blend into that wheel arch there, just to make it look less obvious that it's been painted, and the colour match isn't that far off. And then here as well, just blending it out like so. Okay, so I think that will do for now. Epoxy primer is now on there. I'm still waiting for that to dry, and then I'm probably just going to leave that as it is and not put any silver on it, because like I said before, I've got the Pour 15 coming, so I'm probably going to just grind all that off and put the Pour 15 over the top, which is a more permanent fix than just the rust converter. So hopefully that will keep the rust at bay in the boot of the Celica for a little bit longer, until I can actually do a more permanent fix of cutting the rust out and welding some more steel in. So if you've liked this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Stay tuned for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.